The Great Hall was built to make visitors feel small. It worked. Commander Tae Sunwoo stood at the center of the Galactic Assembly, surrounded by beings that had traveled between stars, while his ancestors were still learning to make fire. The ceiling rose so high above him that clouds actually formed near the top. The walls were made of living crystal that pulsed with soft light. Everything about this place said the same thing. You do not matter here. But Tae had not come all this way to feel small. He had come to deliver a warning. The asteroid swarm approaching Kelris Prime is not what you think it is, he said. His voice echoed in the massive chamber. Our scans show patterns in their movement. These are not random rocks. Something is controlling them. The delegates from a dozen species sat in floating platforms around him. Most of them were not even looking at him. The Thren ambassador, a creature that looked like a giant mantis made of black glass, was cleaning its front legs. The Volar delegate, a being of pure crystal that sang instead of spoke, had dimmed its light almost completely. They were bored. High Chancellor Morris of the Kelris leaned forward in his seat. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and eyes that held no warmth. His species had ruled this part of the galaxy for 30,000 years. To him, humans were like children who had wandered into a meeting of adults. Commander Sunwoo, Mortis said. His voice was smooth and cold. How long have humans been traveling in space? Tae kept his face calm. 312 years. 300 years. Mortis let the words hang in the air. My species has been spacefaring for 30,000 years. The Thren for 20,000. Even the youngest species in this council has been among the stars for 5,000 years. He paused. And you come here to tell us about asteroids? Soft sounds of amusement came from the other delegates. The Thren made a clicking noise that the translator in Tae's ear turned into laughter. Lieutenant Hannah Yoon stood behind her commander. She was younger than him, with sharp eyes that never stopped moving. She had been watching the data on her tablet while the aliens laughed. Now she stepped forward and whispered something in Tae's ear. His expression changed. Just for a moment, something dark passed across his face. High Chancellor, Tae said. My science officer has found something in the trajectory data. May I show the council? Mortis waved a hand lazily. If you must. Hana walked to the center of the room and touched her tablet. A hologram appeared in the air above them all. It showed the asteroid swarm, thousands of rocks tumbling through space toward the Kelris homeworld. Watch the pattern, Hana said. Her voice was quiet but steady. The asteroids are not moving randomly. They are moving together, like a flock of birds, like a swarm. She touched the tablet again. The hologram zoomed in on one of the asteroids. Lines of light appeared on its surface, forming shapes that were too regular to be natural. These are not asteroids, Hana said. They are ships. Dormant ships. Our database says they match records from the Hollow War. The chamber went silent. The Hollow War was ancient history. It had happened 50,000 years ago, before any of the current species had reached the stars. The Hollow were machines, a vast intelligence that had consumed world after world. They ate the cores of planets to reproduce. They had nearly destroyed all life in the galaxy before they were finally defeated. Or so everyone believed. Impossible, Morris said. But his voice had lost some of its smoothness. The Hollow were destroyed, completely. There is nothing left of them. With respect, Tae said, your ancestors believed that. But they never found all the Hollow ships. They assumed they were destroyed. They assumed wrong. The Thren ambassador stood up. This is human paranoia. Your species sees enemies everywhere because you spent your whole history fighting each other. You cannot accept that the universe might be peaceful. I hope I am wrong, Tae said. But if I am right and those ships wake up, they will reach Kelris Prime in 6 hours. 12 billion people will die. And then the hollow will multiply and spread to every system nearby, including Earth, including Thren, including everyone in this room. Mortis held up a hand. Enough. We have studied these asteroids for months. Our scientists, who have been doing science for longer than your species has existed, found nothing unusual. You are seeing patterns that are not there. Then let us help you look closer, Tay said. Let us send a ship into the swarm. If we find nothing, we will leave and never bother you again. But if we find what I think we will find, we might be able to stop it before it is too late. The delegates looked at each other. Some of them seemed uncertain now. The Drenari ambassador, a creature that floated in a tank of water, bubbled something that sounded like a question, but Mortis shook his head. No, he said. We will not have human ships blundering around our system, causing panic with their wild theories. The Kelris defense fleet is more than capable of handling an asteroid swarm. We have shields that can stop anything. We have weapons that can destroy mountains. He looked at Tay with something like pity. Go home, Commander. Go back to your little blue planet and your little wars and your little fears. Let the real civilizations handle this. The Thren laughed again. Other delegates joined in. Tay looked around the room at all of them. These ancient, powerful beings who had mastered the stars. These species who had never known true war, true extinction, true fear. They had lived in peace for so long that they had forgotten what danger looked like. Very well, Tay said. His voice was quiet. But I want this moment recorded. I want the record to show that we came here and we warned you. And when the Hollow wake up, I want the galaxy to remember that we tried to help. He turned and walked toward the exit. Hana followed him. Behind them, Mortis called out, When will you humans learn that not everything is a crisis? Not everything is a war? Tay stopped at the door. He did not turn around. We learned something different, he said. We learned that everything can become a war. And the ones who survive are the ones who prepare for it. He left the chamber. The laughter followed him out. On the shuttle back to his ship, Hana sat beside him. Her face was troubled. They will not listen, she said. No, Tay agreed. They will not. So what do we do? Tay looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, ancient machines were waking up. Ancient hunger was stirring. And the galaxy was too proud to see it coming. We do what humans have always done, he said. We save ourselves. And if we can, we save everyone else too, whether they want us to or not. The shuttle flew on toward the waiting Earthship. Behind them, the great powers of the galaxy continued to laugh. They would not be laughing for long. The U-East Taigu was not a beautiful ship. It was built for war, not for show. Its hull was thick and gray, covered with scars from old battles. Its engines were loud. Its corridors were narrow. But it was fast, and it was tough. And it had never let its crew down. Commander Tay Sunwoo stood on the bridge and watched the asteroid swarm on the main screen. From this distance, it looked almost peaceful. Thousands of gray rocks drifting slowly through the void. Beautiful in a cold and empty way. But Tay knew better. He had seen the patterns. He knew what was hiding inside those rocks. How long until the swarm reaches Kelris Prime? He asked. Navigator Yuri Beak checked her screens. She was the youngest officer on the bridge, but her hands never shook and her calculations were always perfect. 9 hours at current speed. But if the swarm accelerates, it could be much sooner. It will accelerate, Lieutenant Hana Yoon said. She was standing at the science station, her eyes fixed on streams of data. Once they wake up, they will move fast. The Hollow do not waste time. The door to the bridge slid open. Dr. Jinsu Park walked in, carrying a tablet covered with notes. He was older than the others, with gray in his hair and deep lines on his face. He had spent his whole life studying ancient threats, things that most people believed were gone forever. Now his worst fears were coming true. "I finished the analysis," he said. Hannah was right. The asteroids are not asteroids. They are hollow carrier vessels, at least 50,000 of them. Each one contains hundreds of smaller attack drones. If they all activate, we're looking at millions of weapons. The bridge went quiet. Millions. Even the great Kelrus fleet could not fight millions of enemies. Sergeant Daeho Kim spoke up from the weapons station. He was a big man with big hands and a face that rarely showed emotion. "What wakes them up? What starts the attack?" "Proximity to a planet with a suitable core," Jinsu said. "The hollow feed on planetary cores. They drill down, extract the energy, and use it to make more of themselves. One planet can produce thousands of new ships. Then they move to the next planet, and the next, spreading across the galaxy like a disease. So when the swarm reaches Kelrus Prime," Tay said slowly, "it will wake up. Yes, and then Kelrus Prime will die. 12 billion people, gone in hours. And that is just the beginning." Hannah turned from her station. "Commander, I sent another message to the Council." They did not respond. "I also contacted the Kelrus Defense Fleet directly." Admiral Thalok sent back a single word. "What word?" The translator had trouble with it. The closest meaning is something like, "Go away, annoying insect." Daho made a sound that might have been a laugh. "These aliens really do not like us. They do not respect us," Tay said. "There is a difference. They think we are children playing with toys we do not understand. They think our warnings are just noise." He looked at the swarm on the screen. "They are wrong. And they are going to learn that the hard way." Yuri turned in her seat. "Commander, what are we going to do? We cannot fight 50,000 ships by ourselves. We cannot even fight 50. We are not going to fight them," Tay said. "We are going to destroy them. All of them. Before they wake up." The bridge officers looked at each other. They had served with Tay for years. They knew he did not make empty promises. But this sounded impossible. Jinsu stepped forward. "Commander, are you suggesting what I think you are suggesting?" "The Nova device," Tay said. "We have one on board. It was supposed to stay locked away forever. It was never supposed to be used. The Nova device. Every officer in the United Earth Fleet knew about it, but most had never seen one. It was humanity's darkest creation, born from their most terrible war. An antimatter cascade bomb that could erase anything within its blast radius. Not destroy. Erase. Turn matter into light and light into nothing. And had been built during the last war on Earth, when humans had come within hours of destroying themselves completely. The war ended before anyone used it. The weapons were locked away, hidden, forgotten. A reminder of how close humanity had come to ending its own story. That weapon was built to destroy cities, Hana said quietly. Continents, planets. It was built to destroy everything, Tay agreed. And right now, we need to destroy everything in that swarm, before it wakes up and destroys everything else. Daeho nodded slowly. "I can arm it, but the blast radius is enormous. We would need to get close to the center of the swarm, deploy the device, and then run very fast. Even then, we might not make it." "I know," Tay said. "You are asking us to risk all our lives. I am asking you to save 12 billion people. Maybe more. If the Hollow wake up, they will not stop at Kelrus Prime. They will spread across the galaxy. Earth will be next. Everyone will be next." Tay looked at each of his officers in turn. "I will not order anyone to do this. If you want to leave, you can take a shuttle and go. I will fly this ship alone if I have to." Nobody moved. Yuri smiled. "Commander, Where would we go? Back to Earth to wait for the Hollow to come eat us? I would rather die fighting. Deho cracked his knuckles. I have been waiting my whole career for a real enemy. Those alien fleets, they just dance around and talk. The Hollow will actually fight. Finally, a fair challenge. Hannah nodded. The math is difficult, but I think I can calculate a blast radius that destroys the swarm without touching the Keller's fleet. It will be close. Very close. But it might work. Jinsu sighed. I suppose someone should document this. For history. If there is anyone left to read history after today. Tay felt something warm in his chest. Pride. Gratitude. These were his people. These were humans. They faced death the same way they faced everything else, with dark jokes and steady hands. Then we are decided, he said. Yuri, plot a course into the heart of the swarm. Deho, prepare the Nova device. Hannah, work on those calculations. Jinsu, start recording everything. I want the galaxy to know what we did here today. He sat down in his command chair and looked at the swarm on the screen. 50,000 ancient machines, waiting to wake up and kill everything they touched. Let us go save the galaxy, Tay said. Even if the galaxy does not want to be saved. The Taigu turned toward the swarm and began to fly. The Keller's defense fleet was the most powerful military force in the known galaxy. 300 warships, each one the size of a small city. Their shields could stop anything. Their weapons could crack moons. They had never lost a battle in 10,000 years. Admiral Thalok stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the asteroid swarm approach. He felt no fear. He felt nothing at all, really. This was just another problem to solve, like all the others before it. Status report, he said. The swarm will reach defensive range in 4 hours, his officer replied. All ships are in position. Shields at full power. Weapons charged and ready. Good. When the asteroids come within range, destroy them. All of them. I want nothing larger than dust getting through to the homeworld. Yes, Admiral. Thalok allowed himself a small moment of satisfaction. The humans had been so worried, so afraid. They had looked at the asteroids and seen monsters hiding in the dark. But there were no monsters. There was just rock and ice could be broken. His communications officer turned. Admiral, we are receiving a transmission. It is the human ship. Thalok sighed. What do they want now? They are broadcasting on all channels. To everyone. That made Thalok pause. Broadcasting to everyone? What were the humans doing? Put it through, he said. The voice of Commander Tae Sunwoo filled the bridge. It was calm and clear, without any fear. This is Commander Tae Sunwoo of the United Earth ship Taigu. I am broadcasting to all vessels in this system. The asteroid swarm contains dormant hollow carrier vessels. They will activate when they reach Keller's Prime. Your defensive grid cannot stop them. Nothing can stop them once they wake up. Officers on the bridge exchanged glances. Some of them looked nervous. Thalok held up a hand for silence. We have a weapon that can destroy the swarm before it activates, Tay continued. But we need to deploy it at the center of the swarm, and the blast will be enormous. I am asking all ships to clear the area immediately. Move at least 500 kilometers away from the swarm edge. This is not a request. This is a warning. Thalok felt anger rising in his chest. The humans were trying to give orders? To his fleet? In his system? There is not much time, Tay said. I know you do not believe us. I know you think we are fools. But I am asking you, just this once, to trust us. We know what we are doing. We've been preparing for this kind of fight for our entire history. A pause. Then Tay spoke 2 words that would echo through galactic history. Stand back. The channel went silent. Thalok stared at the screen for a long moment. Then he laughed. It was not a kind laugh. "Stand back," he repeated. "The humans want us to stand back." He shook his head. "Open a channel to the human ship." "Channel open, Admiral." "Commander Sunwoo, this is Admiral Thalok of the Kelris Defense Fleet. I have been very patient with you. I have tolerated your warnings and your hysteria. But I will not tolerate being ordered around in my own system by a species that learned to make fire 5 minutes ago. You will leave this area immediately, or I will have my ships escort you out. Do you understand?" There was a brief pause. Then Tay's voice came back. "Admiral, I understand that you think you are protecting your people. I respect that. But I am not leaving. In about 1 hour, I am going to fly into the center of that swarm and deploy a weapon that your species cannot even imagine. When I do, everything within 400 kilometers will cease to exist. I am giving you a chance to move. Please take it." "You are insane," Thalok said. "Maybe, but I'm also right. And when this is over, you will know that I was right. When this is over, you will be a cloud of debris floating in space. That is what happens to small ships that fly into asteroid swarms. Perhaps, but at least I will have tried. Can you say the same?" The channel closed. Thalok stared at the screen where the tiny human ship was visible, moving toward the swarm like an insect flying toward a fire. "Admiral," his officer said quietly, "should we stop them?" Thalok considered it. He could send ships to intercept the Taigu, force it to turn around. It would be easy. The human ship was small and weak, but something stopped him. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the strange certainty in Tay's voice. Or maybe it was something else, something deeper. A feeling that he was missing something important. "No," he said finally. "Let them go. Let them fly into the swarm and die if that is what they want. It will be a lesson for the other humans. A lesson about knowing their place." He turned away from the screen and tried to forget about the small gray ship heading into the darkness. On the Taigu, Hannah was running final calculations. Her fingers moved across her console faster than anyone could follow. Numbers and equations filled the air around her head. "I have it," she said. "If we deploy the Nova at exactly these coordinates, the blast radius will stop 487 kilometers from the nearest Keller ship. That gives us a margin of 13 kilometers. It is not much. It is enough," Tay said. Daeho looked up from the weapons console. "Commander, the Nova is armed and ready. But I need to tell you something. The deployment system is damaged. Old damage from a battle years ago. It was never repaired because we never expected to use this weapon. What does that mean? It means I cannot launch the Nova remotely. Someone will have to carry it to the deployment point manually and activate it by hand." The bridge went silent. "That someone would not survive," Tay said slowly. "No, Commander. They would not." Tay closed his eyes. He had known this mission was dangerous. He had accepted that they might all die. But this was different. This was certain death for whoever carried the bomb. "I will do it," he said. "No," Hannah said immediately. "You are the commander. The ship needs you. The ship needs all of you. I am the most expendable person here. With respect, Commander, that is stupid." Yuri turned in her seat. "You are the leader. You make the decisions. Without you, we are just people with jobs." Daeho stood up. "I will carry the bomb. I am the weapons officer. This is my responsibility. You are also the only one who knows how to arm it," Jinsu pointed out. "If something goes wrong, you need to be alive to fix it." "Then who?" Daeho demanded. "Someone has to do it. I will." Everyone turned. Hannah was standing at her station, her face calm. "Lieutenant, no," Tay said. Commander, listen to me. The deployment requires precise positioning. The margin for error is 13 kilometers. That is nothing. One small mistake, and the Kelris fleet dies along with the swarm. I am the only one who can make those calculations in real time. I need to be there, at the exact right spot, at the exact right moment. There has to be another way. There's not. I have run every scenario. This is the only way it works. She smiled, just a little. I always knew my math would kill me someday. I just thought it would be from boredom. Nobody laughed. The joke was too sad to be funny. Tay looked at his young science officer. She was 28 years old. She had a family back on Earth, parents who were waiting for her to come home. She had a whole life ahead of her, and she was ready to give it up to save 12 billion strangers who had laughed at her. Hannah, he said quietly, are you sure? She nodded. I am sure. This is why we came here, Commander. This is why we exist. Not to be respected, not to be thanked, just to do what needs to be done, even when nobody else will. She picked up her tablet and walked toward the door. Then she stopped and looked back. Tell the galaxy what we did here, she said. Tell them that humans keep their promises, even when it costs everything. She walked out. The door closed behind her. Tay stared at the door for a long moment. Then he turned back to the view screen. Take us in, he said. His voice was rough. Maximum speed. The Taigu flew into the swarm, and Hana flew with it, carrying humanity's most terrible weapon toward its final purpose. The swarm was like flying through a field of ghosts. Asteroids drifted past the Taigu on all sides, close enough to touch. Each one was covered with strange patterns, lines and shapes that glowed with a faint, sickly light. They were waking up. Yuri guided the ship through the maze with steady hands. She did not look at the rocks. She did not think about what was inside them. She just flew. 2 minutes to the center, she reported. Tay nodded. He was watching a small dot on his screen. That dot was Hana, flying through the swarm in a tiny shuttle, carrying the Nova device strapped to her back. She was ahead of them, threading between the asteroids like a needle through cloth. Hannah, he said into the comm, how are you doing? Her voice came back, calm and clear. Almost there, Commander. These rocks are starting to move. I think they know something is wrong. She was right. The asteroids were shifting, turning. Some of them were opening, revealing dark spaces inside where metal shapes waited. The hollow were stirring in their sleep. Move faster, Tay said. I am moving as fast as I can. 30 seconds. On the Kelris flagship, Admiral Thalok watched the human ship disappear into the swarm. His sensors could barely track it anymore. It was lost in the maze of rock and ancient metal. What are they doing in there? He muttered. Unknown, Admiral. But I am detecting energy readings from the swarm. The asteroids are activating. Thalok felt a cold feeling in his stomach. He ignored it. That is impossible. They are just rocks. Admiral, I am detecting hundreds of energy signatures. Thousands. They are spreading through the swarm like a wave. On the main screen, the asteroids began to glow brighter. Their surfaces cracked and split. Things were crawling out of them, small and fast and hungry. By the ancestors, someone whispered. Thalok could not speak. The humans had been right. They had been right about everything. Deep in the center of the swarm, Hana reached the deployment point. She stopped her shuttle and looked around. Holodrones were swarming everywhere now, millions of small machines with sharp edges and red eyes. They were still confused, still waking up. In a few minutes, they would be fully active. Then nothing would stop them. She had less than a few minutes. Commander, she said into the comm, I am in position. Get the Taigu out of here, now. Hannah, wait. There has to be another way. We can send a drone, we can rig a timer, we can do something. There is no time. They are waking up. If I do not do this now, they will reach the activation threshold and nothing will stop them. She paused. It has been an honor serving with you, Commander. Tell my parents I love them. Tell them I was not afraid. Hannah, goodbye, Tay. She cut the comm. Then she pulled up her calculations one last time, checking the numbers, making sure everything was perfect. The Kelris fleet was exactly 500 kilometers away. The Taigu was running at maximum speed toward the edge of the swarm. In 20 seconds, everyone would be clear. Everyone except her. She looked at the hollow drones surrounding her shuttle. They were turning toward her now, their red eyes focusing. They knew she was there. They knew she was a threat. You know what the difference is between us and you? She said to them. You were built to destroy. We were built to survive. And sometimes, surviving means being willing to die. She pressed the button. The Nova device activated for 1 heartbeat. Nothing happened. Then, the universe turned white. Admiral Thalok would never forget what he saw that day. He would tell the story 1,000 times, and each time his voice would shake. A light appeared in the center of the swarm. It was brighter than any sun he had ever seen. It was brighter than anything that should exist in the natural universe. It was the light of atoms coming apart, of matter turning into pure energy, of reality itself being erased. The light expanded. It moved faster than he could track. It swallowed the asteroids, the drones, the ancient hollow vessels that had slept for 50,000 years. Everything it touched ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not burned, just gone. Erased from the universe as if it had never been there. The light stopped exactly 487 kilometers from his ship. Thalok could feel the heat on his face, even through the shields. Alarms were screaming all across his bridge. Officers were shouting, praying, crying. He just stood there, staring at the light, unable to move. Then, slowly, the light began to fade. When it was gone, there was nothing left. No asteroids. No hollow ships. No swarm. Just empty space, clean and dark and quiet. And somewhere in that emptiness, a tiny shuttle was drifting. Burned black, silent. Still, the communication channels were silent too. Not just quiet. Silent, as if everyone in the system had forgotten how to speak. Thalok found his voice first. What? What was that? No one answered him. What could they say? What words existed for what they had just witnessed? On the Taigu, Tae Sung-woo sat in his command chair and stared at the empty space where the swarm had been. His face was wet with tears, but he did not move to wipe them away. Commander, Yuri said softly, I am detecting the shuttle. It is damaged, but the hull is intact. Tae looked up. What? The shuttle? Hana's shuttle. It survived the edge of the blast. Barely. I am reading one life sign. It is weak, but it is there. For a moment, Tae could not breathe. Then he was on his feet, shouting orders. Get us there now. Full speed. Daeho, prepare the medical bay. Jinsu, contact the Kelris fleet. Tell them we need their doctors. Their best doctors. I do not care what they think of us. Move! Move! The Taigu flew toward the drifting shuttle. Behind them, the Kelris fleet finally began to move too. Not to attack. Not to intercept. Just to follow. Just to help. They found Hana unconscious in the shuttle, burned and broken but alive. The blast had caught the edge of her vessel, throwing her clear at the last moment. The math had saved her. Her own perfect calculations had given her just enough distance to survive. She woke up 3 days later in a Kelris hospital, surrounded by aliens who looked at her with something she had never seen in their eyes before. Respect. What happened? she whispered. Tay was sitting beside her bed. He had not left since they brought her in. You saved them, he said. You saved everyone. The Hollow? Gone. All of them. The Nova erased the entire swarm. Not a single drone survived. Hannah closed her eyes. Good. That is good. She did not ask about the silence. She did not need to. She could hear it in Tay's voice, see it in the way the Kelris doctors moved around her. Something had changed. Something fundamental had shifted in the way the galaxy saw humanity. They had laughed when the humans said, "Stand back." No one was laughing now. The Galactic Assembly looked different when you returned as a hero. The ceiling still rose impossibly high. The walls still pulsed with living light. But somehow, the chamber did not feel so big anymore. Commander Tay Sunwoo stood at the center of the hall, exactly where he had stood 3 weeks ago when they had laughed at him. Lieutenant Hannah Yoon stood beside him, still healing but strong enough to walk. Behind them stood Dr. Jinsu Park, Sergeant Daiho Kim, and Navigator Yuri Beek, the full crew of the Taegu. The delegates were not laughing now. High Chancellor Mortis rose from his seat. His face was difficult to read. The Kelris did not show emotion easily, but his voice, when he spoke, was different than before. Softer, heavier. 3 weeks ago, he said, I stood in this chamber and dismissed your warnings. I called you children. I told you to go home. I was wrong. The words hung in the air. In 10,000 years of Kelris history, no High Chancellor had ever admitted being wrong. Not once. Because of my arrogance, 50,000 hollow vessels nearly reached our homeworld. 12 billion of my people nearly died. The only reason they did not die is because 5 humans refused to listen to me. 5 humans who flew into danger while we stood back and laughed. He looked at Hannah. Lieutenant Yoon, you carried a weapon of unimaginable power into the heart of that swarm. You calculated a blast radius with a margin of error of 13 kilometers. You gave yourself almost no chance of survival. Why? Hannah thought about the question. She had been asked it many times since she woke up. By doctors, by reporters, by the families of the people she had saved. She never knew quite how to answer. Because someone had to, she said finally. And we were the only ones willing. Mortis nodded slowly. The hollow swarm you destroyed was just the beginning. Our sensors have detected similar swarms across the galaxy. Millions of dormant vessels waiting to wake up. The destruction of the first swarm triggered something. A signal. Now they are all activating. A murmur ran through the assembly. The delegates looked at each other with fear in their eyes. Even the Thren, who had laughed loudest, seemed small and frightened now. We face a war unlike anything this galaxy has seen in 50,000 years, Mortis continued. The Hollow will not negotiate. They will not stop. They will consume world after world until there is nothing left. And we, he paused, we do not know how to fight them. Our shields are not strong enough. Our weapons are not powerful enough. We have spent so long in peace that we have forgotten how to make war. He turned back to Tay. But you have not forgotten. Your species has been making war since before you could walk upright. You have weapons we cannot even imagine. You have experience with destruction that we cannot match. 3 weeks ago, I saw that as a weakness. Now I see it as the only thing that might save us. He stepped down from his platform and walked across the chamber floor until he stood directly in front of Tay, the High Chancellor of the Kelris, the leader of the most powerful civilization in the galaxy, standing before a human commander from a species that had only been in space for 3 centuries. Commander Sunwoo, Mortis said, I am asking you, on behalf of the Galactic Council, to lead us. Help us fight the Hollow. Teach us how to survive. The chamber was absolutely silent. Tay could feel the weight of every eye in the room on him. The Thren, the Volar, the Draenori, all the species that had dismissed humanity for so long. They were all watching, all waiting. He thought about everything that had brought him to this moment. The years of being ignored. The meetings where aliens had barely bothered to remember his name. The jokes about the young species with their violent ways and their short lives. And he thought about Hana, flying into that swarm with death strapped to her back. He thought about his crew, staying with him when they could have run. He thought about Earth, the small blue planet that had survived ice ages and plagues and wars and somehow, against all odds, had made it to the stars. "Hi, Chancellor," Tay said. "3 weeks ago, you told me to go back to my little planet and my little wars. You told me to let the real civilizations handle things." He paused. "I have a different answer now," Mortis waited. "Humans do not fight because we want to," Tay said. "We fight because we have to. Our history is written in blood because that is the only way we know how to survive. Every generation, we face something that should destroy us. Every generation, we find a way to keep going." He looked around the chamber at all the ancient, powerful species who had never known true fear. "You built utopias. You created perfect societies where no one had to fight, where peace lasted for thousands of years. That is beautiful. That is what we hope to become someday. But right now, it is also your weakness. You do not know how to be afraid. You do not know how to look at the end of everything and keep moving anyway." He stepped forward. "We do. We have been doing it for 10,000 years. And if you want to survive what is coming, you need to learn from us." The Thren ambassador rose. "And what will you teach us, human? How to build bombs that erase matter? How to destroy ourselves like you almost did?" "Yes," Tay said simply. "Exactly that. We will teach you how to stand on the edge of extinction and refuse to fall. We will teach you how to turn your own destruction into a weapon. We will teach you how to survive when there is no hope left." He looked back at his crew. At Hana, still scarred but standing tall. At Deho, with his warrior's hands. At Yuri, with her calm eyes. At Jinsu, with his ancient knowledge. "We are not proud of what we are," Tay said. "We wish we had your peace, your wisdom, your patience. But right now, the galaxy does not need peace or wisdom or patience. The galaxy needs survivors. And that is what humans are. That is what we have always been." He turned back to Mortis. "So yes, High Chancellor, we will help you. We will lead your fleets and build your weapons and fight your war. Not because we want glory or power, but because someone has to, and we are the only ones who know how." Mortis extended his hand. It was a human gesture, something Kelrus never did. But he had learned it somehow in the 3 weeks since the swan died. Tay took his hand. "Then let us begin," Mortis said. The war against the Hollow lasted 3 years. It was the bloodiest conflict in galactic history. Worlds fell. Fleets died. Humanity lost its moon when a Hollow swarm broke through the defenses and detonated it to prevent the machines from using its mass. But in the end, they won. Commander Tay Sunwoo became Admiral Tay Sunwoo. He led the combined fleets of 12 species against the heart of the Hollow network and destroyed it, with 17 Nova devices, fired simultaneously across 17 systems. Lieutenant Hana Yoon became the most decorated officer in human history. She designed the weapons that turned the tide, the shields that held the line, the strategies that won the final battles. When it was over, the Galactic Council named the new flagship after her, the UES Hana. And when the war ended, the Council created a new position. They called it Guardian Species, a title for the civilization that would stand between the galaxy and the dark, that would watch the borders and prepare for threats that had not yet awakened, that would remember how to fight so that others could remember how to live in peace. They offered it to humanity. Admiral Tae Sun-woo accepted on behalf of Earth. On the bridge of the U.S. Hana, he stood beside his old crew and looked out at the stars. The war was over. The Hollow were gone. The galaxy was safe, for now. "Commander," Yuri said softly. She still called him Commander, even after all these years. "Sensors are picking up something strange. Deep in unexplored space. Very faint, but it is there. What kind of something? I do not know, but it is old. Older than the Hollow. And it is moving. Slowly, but it is definitely moving." Tae looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, something else was waiting. Something that the Hollow themselves had been afraid of. Something that had driven them to hibernate for 50,000 years. But that was a problem for another day. Today, the galaxy was safe. And it was safe because, for once, they had listened when the humans said, "Stand back." "Keep watching it," Tae said, "and let me know if it gets any closer." He turned and walked off the bridge. Behind him, the stars burned cold and bright, full of mysteries and dangers that humanity would face when the time came. They would face them the way they had faced everything else stuck together, afraid, and completely unwilling to die. That was the human way. It always had been. And now, thanks to 5 people on a small gray ship who had refused to be dismissed, it was the galaxy's way too.